Hello, my friend. This video is going to be my second psycho reading ASMR. It's been a while since I made a video, I know, but there were so many things to do during the last weeks that I simply did not have the time to record it. Anyway, I apologize for being absent so long. Last time I read Psycho, we stopped at the point where Norman Bates and his mother had an argument, and now his mother is about to continue pressuring him. So let's start from the point where we stopped last time. Never had the gumption to leave home. Never had the gumption to go out and get yourself a job, or join the army, or even find yourself a girl. You wouldn't let me. That's right, Norman, I wouldn't let you. But if you were half a man, you'd have gone your own way. You wanted to shout out at her that she was wrong, but he couldn't. Because the things she was saying were the things he had told himself over and over again all through the years. It was true. She'd always laid down the law to him, but that didn't mean he always had to obey. Mothers sometimes are overly possessive, but not all children allow themselves to be possessed. There had been other widows, other only sons, and not all of them became enmeshed in this sort of relationship. It was really his fault as much as hers, because he didn't have any gumption. You could have insisted, you know, she was saying. Suppose you'd gone out and found us a new location, and put the place here up for sale. But no, all you did was whine, and I know why. You never fooled me for an instant. It's because you really didn't want to move. You've never wanted to leave this place, and you never will now, ever. You can't leave, can you? Any more than you can grow up. He couldn't look at her. Not when she said things like that. He couldn't. And there was nowhere else for him to look either. The beaded lamp, the heavy old overstuffed furniture, all the familiar objects in the room suddenly became hateful just because of long familiarity, like this furnishing of a prison cell. He stared out of the window, but that was no good either. Out there was the wind and the rain and the darkness. He knew there was no escape for him out there, no escape anywhere from the voice that throbbed, the voice that drummed into his ears like that of the Inca corpse in the book, the drum of the dead. He clutched at the book now and tried to focus his eyes on it. Maybe if he ignored her and pretended to be calm, but it didn't work. Look at yourself, she was saying, the drum going boom, 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 and the sound reverberating from his mangled mouth. I know why you didn't bother to switch on the sign. I know why you haven't even gone up to open the office tonight. You didn't really forget. It's just that you don't want anyone to come. You hope they don't come. All right, he muttered. I admit it. I hate running a motel. Always have. It's more than that, boy. There it is again. Boy, 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 drumming away out of the jaws of death. You hate people. Because, really, you're afraid of them, aren't you? Always have been, ever since you were a little tyke. Rather snuggle up in a chair under the lamp and read. You did it 30 years ago and you're still doing it now, hiding away under the covers of a book. There's a lot of worse things I could be doing. You always told me that yourself. At least I never went out and got into trouble. Isn't it better to improve my mind?
Improve your mind?
He could sense her standing behind him now, staring down.
Call that improvement?
You don't fool me, boy, not for a minute. Never have. It isn't as if you were reading the Bible or even trying to get an education. I know the sort of thing you read. Trash. And worse than trash. This happens to be a history of the Inca civilization. I'll just bet it is. And I'll just bet it's crammed full with nasty bits about those dirty savages, like the one you had about the South Seas. You didn't think I knew about that one, did you? Hiding it up in your room the way you hid all the others, those filthy things you used to read. Psychology isn't filthy, Mother.
Psychology, he calls it.
A lot you know about psychology. I'll never forget that time you talked so dirty to me. Never.
You think that a son could come to his own mother and say such things?
But I was only trying to explain something. It's what they call the Oedipus situation. And I thought that both of us could just look at the problem reasonably and try to understand it. Maybe things would change for the better.
Change, boy? Nothing's going to change. You can read all the books in the world and you'll still be the same.
I don't need to listen to a lot of vile, obscene rigmarole to know what you are.
Why, even an 8-year-old child could recognize it. They did, too.
All your little playmates did, way back then. You're a mama's boy. That's what they called you. And that's what you were.
Were, are, and always will be a big, fat, overgrown mama's boy.
It was deafening him, the drumbeat of her words, the drumbeat in his own chest. The vileness in his mouth made him choke. In a moment, he'd have to cry. Norman shook his head. To think that she could still do this to him even now. But she could, and she was, and she would over and over again. Unless what?
God, could she read his mind? I know what you're thinking, Norman. I know all about you, boy. More than you dream. But I know that too, what you dream. You're thinking that you'd like to kill me, aren't you, Norman? But you can't, because you haven't the gumption. I am the one who has the strength. I've always had it. Enough for both of us. That's why you'll never get rid of me, even if you really want to. Of course, deep down you don't want to. You need me, boy. That's the truth, isn't it?
Norman stood up slowly. He didn't dare trust himself to turn and face her, not yet. He had to tell himself to be calm first. Be very, very calm. Don't think about what she's saying. Try to face up to it. Try to remember. She's an old woman and not quite right in the head. If you keep on listening to her this way, you'll end up not quite right in the head either. Tell her to go back to her room and lie down. That's where she belongs. And she'd better go there fast. Because if she doesn't, this time you're going to strangle her with her own silver cord. He started to swing around, his mouth working, framing the phrases when the buzzer sounded. That was the signal. It meant somebody had driven in up at the motel and was ringing for service. Without even bothering to look back, Norman walked into the hall, took his raincoat from the hanger, and went out into the dark.